What's up, guys? Welcome to Jammer Narrates. I'm your host, Jammer, and today we've got 3 pretty wild Reddit stories to go through, so get comfortable, kick back, and let's dive right into the first one. I, 30F, have been with my boyfriend 31M for almost 2 years. We discussed marriage early on and seemed aligned. A few months ago, I moved in after we agreed to buy an engagement ring and decided that was our next step. We picked a ring, he bought it, and it was sitting in our apartment, and then he even announced to his friends and family that we were going ring shopping and getting engaged. Then, a couple nights ago, he revealed that he was not sure he's ready for an engagement or marriage. When I asked why, one of his reasons was that he was worried he didn't sleep around enough. He said it's a dumb reason and he'd probably regret losing me over it, which is why he hasn't ended things or cheated on me. Wow, congratulations. At one point, he actually said the words, "I don't see us getting engaged in the foreseeable future, and they say when you know, and I'm not sure if you're the one." He even brought up ethical non-monogamy. I initially panicked and said I'd consider it, but I still wanted to be engaged to him. But the more I processed it, the more I started leaning towards ending things. I left the next day to stay with family and to figure things out and figure my thoughts. I think he assumes we're staying together. But if he's really going to be this uncertain after 2 years, what's a week really going to change? Staying in this relationship would mean settling for someone who's unsure. Leaving means opening up the possibility of meeting someone who knows they can't wait to marry me and build a life together. So I called him and ended things. I felt a bit guilty about the phone breakup, but realistically, he just told me that he no longer sees us getting engaged and wants to sleep around with other people. So perhaps I'm not the one who should feel any guiltier. He was a bit shocked, but I was firm and basically said, "We want different things, so this just makes sense." My mom drove back with me on Saturday morning to get a U-Haul and help me pack everything up ASAP and get out. While we were packing, he did the speech I suspected would happen. Things like he loves me, doesn't want to lose me, and it was so hard not talking to me this week and that I'm his favorite person. I told him I appreciate it, but we just want different things. He admitted he thought about doing a grand gesture to keep me, but knew it wouldn't be right given his uncertainty. He said he's going to try to get this out of his system and not to be surprised if he tries to reach out to get back together. He actually admitted later that he had poor social skills, was pretty overweight, and was kind of a hermit for most of his younger years. In the past few years, he lost weight and started feeling more confident, so now he thinks he needs to try to relive the youth he missed out on. Overall, I'm still 100% confident that leaving was the correct thing for me to do. I'm getting settled in my new place now, taking a pause before I start dating again, and using the lessons I learned to make better dating choices. Okay, wow. What was this guy's plan here? Well, the guy buys an engagement ring, leaves it sitting there in the apartment, and he tells his girlfriend, I just don't think I've slept around long enough. For sure. That's just crazy. And then, on top of all of that, bringing up an open relationship, and specifically wanting it to where only he gets to sleep with other people. My guy, come on now. This guy loses a little bit of weight and immediately thinks he's like Channing Tatum or something. Come on, buddy. Let's be realistic. But anyway, she handled that really well. She was firm, packed her stuff, brought a U-Haul, and didn't fall for this guy's fake tears at the end. Honestly, good for her. Alright, on to the second post now. This one is from r/malicious compliance. And honestly, management brought every single bit of this one on themselves. Story 2. CEO didn't understand what my department did. Some backstory, I was a general troubleshooter at my company. My job involved a lot of traveling to different clients we support in Ontario, Canada, where I am based, and some nearby US states like New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Pennsylvania. I had one colleague, Jim, who was technically my subordinate, but we have very good working relationship and would often handle calls independently. A little over a year ago, I get an email calling me to the head office in New York City for a meeting with the CEO, who was named Bob, and the board of directors regarding my job. Jim got the same email, so we met up in New York City the following week. When we go to the meeting, we are informed that the company is dividing our department between the US and Canada, and that there would be a new person to deal with the US clients, and that we were to restrict ourselves to Canada. The new person was a new hire that the CEO had taken a special interest in. Trying to be of a good spirit, I offered to train the new person. The CEO accepted and brought in the new hire, Karen, a young lady who looks about 23 years old and wears an expression like she knows everything. She sits down and immediately makes it clear to us that she wants nothing to do with any of us, talking about how she has the ideas to streamline our department and introduce new policy to save money. I'm very confused at this point. Karen is speaking as though she's my supervisor. I asked the CEO to clarify, and Bob says, "Sure, Karen is the new head of your department, and both you and Jim will answer directly to her." A board member speaks up and says, "That isn't what we discussed or approved as a board. We agreed the department would be divided, but OP and Jim would remain north of the border, and Karen would run the US." Karen literally says, "That's not what I was told, but I can work with that, as long as these two stay out of my way." Bob then says, "That settles it. OP, effective immediately. You and Jim have nothing to do with Karen. Do not interfere with her work at all. You are both to restrict yourselves to working within Canada only. We asked for a written directive, got in an email by the end of the day, and made our way back to Toronto. Within a week, I was getting complaints from our US clients that Karen was not answering emails and missing appointments. I forwarded these emails to Karen and copied the board and Bob. Another week later, Karen calls me sounding frantic about asking how I would handle a certain situation. I tell her I'm not really interested in discussing work, as that might be seen as interfering in her work. Jim got the same call and handled it in the exact same way. By the end of that month, the CEO calls asking if I will take over the entire department again. I politely tell him no, since I didn't want to interfere with Karen in her role. Since Jim and I had actually grown our client base in Ontario with less travel time, we had lunch and decided to start our own consulting firm. We submitted our resignations, and when clients contacted us, we told them we'd set up our own firm. Within 2 months, we had 80% of our former company's US clients and 90% of the Canadian ones. Our new company has grown enough that we've had to hire 7 new consultants. Meanwhile, our old company had to stop offering in-person troubleshooting entirely, and Bob was fired by the board. Wow, okay, as long as these two stay out of my way, in front of the entire board, there's no way. They literally handed them a written directive saying, do not interfere, and then acted surprised when they didn't step in to save her. You literally asked for it, in writing. I think the best of all of this, though, was them starting their own firm and basically taking almost all of their clients, which is pretty crazy. And then on top of that, the CEO got fired, the department got shut down. I mean, man, you really love to see it. All right, this last story is honestly, like, I really don't even know how to set this up. It's really just bizarre. Story 3, the 10-year girlfriend. My brother-in-law, Jim, is in his late 30s and has supposedly been dating the same girl, Brandy, for 10 years. They met when he was a student teacher and when she was in high school. I've been with my husband since 2018, and I've never met Brady. Jim has never brought her to family reunions, holidays, or even our wedding. There's always an excuse. Jim doesn't have social media, but he talks about her family all the time, knows details about her job and health, and shows us pictures. My mother-in-law even says she's heard him talk to her on the phone, call her sweetie, and says Brandy's on his phone plan. Additionally, a few years ago, we saw Brady's sister at a pumpkin patch, and Jim literally bolted the other way. Then last year, my husband found a Facebook picture of Brady kissing another guy at a party and sent it to Jim. Jim thanked him, was sad for like 5 months, but then started talking about Brady again, telling people at work they've been together 10 years. So a few weeks ago, I decided to follow Brady on Instagram and invite her to my son's birthday party. She replied and dropped a massive bomb. She said she has not talked to Jim in 10 years. Jim immediately messaged me telling me not to talk to Brady and to block her, claiming they were working through things. I reached back out to Brady one last time just to make sure she was okay. She confirmed that she had 0 contact with Jim in 10 years. She didn't have his number and was genuinely creeped out that he knew so much about her life. Like a recent story about someone accidentally feeding her dog grapes, which she'd only told her close family. Brady then called her mom right after, and her mom admitted that she and Jim had stayed in touch over the years and just talked about life. It turns out Brady's mom was obsessed with her daughters, reposted all of their pictures, and had secretly been feeding Jim every single personal update about Brady's life for 10 years. Jim took that information, created a completely fake relationship in his mind, and staged fake phone calls in front of his family to keep the lie going. Brady was completely blindsided and got into a huge argument with her mom, and Jim has been distant from the family ever since. 10 years. 10 whole years of pretending to be in a relationship, staging fake phone calls at family dinner, and getting top secret updates from her mom. That is insane. Like, what was the end game here? Running away to pumpkin patch because her sister showed up is wild enough, but finding out her own mom was feeding him updates on the dog? No, bro, that is just disturbing. I can't even imagine. This chick is just living her life, having no idea that this guy is out here getting work updates on her health for a decade. And apparently the husband of Brady does not want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. And I wouldn't either. This whole situation is bizarre. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for episode 1. Thank you so much for hanging out listening. If you enjoy the stories and want to pop in for more like that next week, hit the subscribe button and drop a like. And also let me know what you thought about that last story in the comments. Appreciate you all watching. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.